Father Vogel. We continue our series on St. Francis de Sales' Introduction to the Devout Life. We are in his part 3 of his book, looking at the different virtues. And we're in chapter 35 of this part. And in this chapter, he reflects on how we should be faithful to God in both the great and the small. So he says, not only in the great deeds, but should devout persons follow God, but also in the least and the most lowly. These things are very pleasing to him when we serve him through even the small things. So in speaking of the great things, he says, be ready to bear great sufferings, even martyrdom, for the sake of our Lord. Decide to give him all that is most precious to you. If it pleases him to take away mother, father, brother, sister, husband, wife, children, even your eyes or your own life, because for all of these, we must be ready. So God can ask us to do very great things for him, the greatest of which is martyrdom, offering our whole life the way that he did. But he could ask us to other things within our life, even the suffering of the loss of a family member or spouse through death. He may ask us to endure these kinds of sufferings with great love for him. So these are some of the great things that he may ask us to do. But even the small things, he says, bear very gently the petty insults, the little inconveniences, the losses, and little consequences which occur to you every day. By making use of these little opportunities with pure and tender love, you will win his heart entirely and will make it your own. These little daily acts of charity, this headache, toothache, this swelling, this whim of husband or wife, this breaking of a glass, the contempt or sulking, the loss of a glove, ring, handkerchief, the little inconveniences in going to bed early or getting up early in order to pray. Shame in performing acts of devotion publicly. In short, all the little sufferings accepted and embraced with love are extremely pleasing to the divine goodness. So God, he says, has promised his faithful a sea of every happiness for a single glass of water. And since these occasions occur at every moment, it is a great means of gathering vast spiritual riches and making use of them well. So the most of the things that we want to be faithful to God are going to be just the daily things that we come across. All the little small penances and sufferings that we have to endure. Through those, we can be most pleasing to God through our faithfulness to him. And of course, this is the secret of the great saints. It gives the example of St. Catherine of Siena. Certainly, there were the moments of greatness, the different raptures and elevations of the Spirit, or words of wisdom that she would give, but then also her faithfulness in the very small things. She said in her father's kitchen, humbly turning the spit, kindling the fire, dressing the meat, kneading the bread, and doing the lowliest of household tasks with great love of God. And in the midst of that, he says that she had her meditation to give it this spiritual aspect. So she imagined that she was cooking food, that while she was cooking food for her father, that she was cooking it for Jesus himself and her mother in the place of Our Lady, and her brother in the place of the apostles. Thus she encouraged herself to serve the whole court of heaven in serving these very small things. So in the same way, we can direct all of our actions, no matter how small they may be, in the service of God and his majesty. So he says to make sure we practice both great and small things as part of our devotion, whether the great things like the prayer and meditation, the receiving of sacraments, the speaking and spreading the good news to others, or in the small things, service to the poor, visiting the sick, caring for the family and the menial household tasks. These are very important as well. He says to think of these little humble virtues like flowers growing at the foot of the cross. He says these great, the the moments, the occasions of doing the very great things are very rare, but the small ones are going to be very common. So whoever is faithful in the small things, as he quotes Jesus himself in the scriptures, shall be established over many things. He says, do then all things in the name of God, and all things